Sanbonani, Dumelangi, Absheni. Hello out there once again. It's your boy AK coming to you with episode number 14 of the Real Talk with AK. You know what it is, hey? A place where we talk about real issues that actually have like a real impact on society. And joining me on this episode, I'm actually joined by Katleho and Keya on this side. But then I'll actually give them like the platform to actually make like a formal introduction, and they'll actually like give us like a background overview of who they are and what they do. So let me start with my lady on my right hand side. Yeah.
What do you mean? Hi, my name is Yamakoti, but short, Kia. Yeah. And then so now I need to explain what it is. I am a local AIDS counselor in the Mukhali City department, under the Department of HIV and AIDS. I am also a law student. I don't know how, but yeah, basically that's who I am. I'm still trying to find myself, so I keep you guys I'm still trying to find myself. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Mr. Cat Lefakane. The platform is yours, Maji, to actually like introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi guys, my name is Katleho, short for Cat Lefakane, and I'm into fitness, but I'm also a logistics graduate, and yeah, this way I'm good.
Welcome, my brother. So guys, okay, I actually invited you like to the show to actually like discuss something like in most cases, like we don't speak about like such issues. Like, and that's like mental health issues. So like the whole purpose of this show is to actually like raise awareness about like mental health in terms of like how it actually affects like both members of these genders, which is the male gender and the female gender. So like I would actually like to find out from you like in terms of like what's your take on this whole concept of like mental health in our communities, like amongst men and women, how it's affecting us as members of society, and what do you think about like this whole concept, G? So I'll start
Start with Kate.
Let ladies first.
Okay. The whole concept of mental health, especially for both gender, I feel like we are not well familiar as we should about the mental health issue. Because a lot is happening and then we are taking it for granted. And then they end up going, no, it's one of those goody days, and it's not actually that. There's always a root to something happening in our community, and we are taking it very lightly. That's why till this day, we have a lot of young people who are taking their own lives because of that. You know, and then everyone goes, no, it's just a spoiled child. And so what really, really for me saddens me is the fact that we take it so lightly. Yeah.
For me, like especially in the black community, because we don't take it as seriously as we're supposed to, because most of us, I can say maybe at least 60 to 70% of us are Christians, and then when you have a problem, they'll say tandas.
Yeah.
So like now, the dynamic is different, especially in this age where there is a lot of information on the internet. You can actually learn about mental health.
Industry 4.0.
So, yeah, sometimes it may not be into include. It might just be anxiety or panic attacks. Yeah. So it's not something we should be scared of as abantu abamnyama, because when you speak of something mental, so that's why I think there's a stigma around the whole issue. So for me, that's my take on it.
So guys, okay, that's your perspective and like everything. So like I would actually like to like find out from you guys, like how like actually you think like this whole thing of like mental, like someone actually having like mental problems, mental issues actually affects their functionality in relationships in most cases.
Oh, you. please go first.
I
Please.
don't know. I guess for me now, I'd say that not just in relationships, but also in friendships and family. So a person who would suffer from it would not know, but then they're affecting the other person like emotionally. So sometimes it's emotional abuse and other people. So like you have to understand that there are certain things that you do to want to like ignoring them, or maybe some people who suffer from mental illness, they'll just pull away from it. So in a relationship with a people, that person will not talk to you for like a week or so, and you don't know what's happening. Even in marriages and stuff like that, it happens with people who would have their reactions or whatever people call it, and then the other person might not see it that way, and then after I will know to know this person is avoiding me, or this person is treating me this way, not understanding the students and then there would be like a miscommunication, and then people become toxic in the relationship.
So, in your own ways, and like, if I'm getting you correctly, what you're saying, like in most cases, this is where like this whole thing of like toxic behavior amongst like both members of genders actually like arises from in most cases.
I wouldn't say that's where it arises from, but then it's a part of the problem sometimes.
It's part of
it's a part of the source sometimes.
Yeah, it's part of the source. So okay, let me move on to you.
My take.
Because
yes, because I myself have my mental disorders, right?
Yeah.
And it's a problem for me to actually be able to come out to the open and say to my partner or my friends, to say that, hey, I'm not having a good day, depression, just put it into the whole clear out, because first things first, I will be telling someone that I'm having a bad day, anxiety, panic is one, but how they receive me can also trigger some of them. We are, I don't want to say pruned, but we are pruned to think in a certain way when someone comes to us and say, I have depression. People, no, I said depression, maybe you're just hungry, or maybe something is wrong. Like, they take it so lightly. Then again, it works with communication, right?
Yeah.
When someone has their own mental issues, especially in a relationship, it becomes quite difficult. Because, first things first, some of us are not well aware with actually giving. I guess there's you being mentally mental health issues, you having them, and then there's you actually breaking them down to say, okay, I have this, I have anxiety, I have bipolar, I have, right? And hence, we need to be open about it.
So,
tell people what's happening.
So like, I was about to actually ask you a question regarding that. Like, in most cases, like with such issues right now, for instance, let me just say, okay, maybe I'm battling with anxiety or that depression, and like it's a common it's like a common problem in our communities. That's why we have like a high rate of suicide, and it's because of such things. Because like speaking out, it's actually hard in most cases for like people. So how do we actually get people to actually like start actually like engaging with their friends when they're actually going such things, like family members, counselors, actually coming forward and seeking help? How do we get someone to actually start actually thinking of that?
It's actually tricky.
Yeah, because like I said, like the stigma behind it, especially in our community, when you say something, when you speak something, your mental health, they'll say immediately, what? So now it's harder for people to come out because they know they're not going to be accepted, and they know they're not going to be seen as
yeah.
So I guess it's just about like the awareness and people just learning about these things. So, because personally, I had a friend who suffered from depression, like it was crazy. At first, I didn't even know because the person didn't even want to come out. And then once, like, she told me about it, at first I was like, hey, Start fontaine and whatnot, but then I got to learn about I'm being honest, like then I got to learn about, okay, no man, this is an illness just like any other disease or whatever. So just learning about it, just getting information and proper information at that.
Like while we're on that, and like recently, like I think 2 days ago, like I had a friend of mine like who's been like quiet on WhatsApp, and now like the last time I spoke to him, it was more like of a thing like, yo, there was a house break by my crib, they stole like my phones, and so I was like, okay, I understand. So it turns out like the guy was actually like admitted at hospital with like depression and anxiety, like it's such cases. So like in most cases, and this guy Buffett and Guyana, he's actually my friend, someone I actually like met, my varsity day one. So like in most cases we tend to have like those scenarios where like friends are calling us fake friends for actually not being there for them with such moment. We're actually having like a convo when I actually met you earlier on, and so like what do you think, like what's the cause of that? Are we really fake for not actually asking like what's wrong with you, or is it a matter of you as an individual that's actually having a problem, having to come forward?
It's the space that we create within our friends. Like I was saying to you, how a person receives you, we can be friends, but to a certain extent. And I don't know why it's like that, but for some people it's okay. For me personally, if you are my friend, you need to know about it, and I need to know about you. So it's always the space. It's always the space, because if the space is not clear for you to come to the table and actually say, okay, hence I was saying earlier to say that also when I come to you and I tell you that I'm depressed, in my head already I'm thinking of the reaction you're going to give me. So I'm avoiding such things, and it's also not easy to talk about these things. It's you. It's not something. It's not like telling your parents that you impregnated someone. It's not that.
Wait. And like guys, like when I was busy like preparing for like this show, like I actually came across like a text and then somewhere like where it was like according to like statistics, in most cases it's women that are likely to like suffer from like mental health issues. So I would actually like to find out from you guys like what you actually think would actually be the reason for like for the statistics to be actually saying that in most cases.
There's a lot. We are carrying, I'm so sorry to say this, but I feel like women are carrying so much. We are carrying so much. It's actually 29%, if I'm not mistaken, of the women who are most likely to be to have mental disorders. It is so much can happen. I will talk about myself a little bit. For me to have mental disorders, number one, it's panic of my surroundings, panic for my safety, panic. Number two, anxiety. It could be about anything. It could be about, for now it's schoolwork, it could be about my work, it could be about my relationship, a whole lot. And not having like a grip on things also. When you feel like I'm losing shit here.
Your shit is not
I'm
in
losing
order.
shit now, and there's a lot.
Just also like the society now, like our backgrounds and where we come from, especially like traditional and culturally, there's so much expectations for females, and so like especially like you can see, Umama has to do 1, 2, 3, go 2. At the same time, especially now we're living in a modern world where women go to work and they also do these things, but then they also have to take care of the children of their families. We have a lot of single mothers out there, and so like she said, with safety, there's a lot of issues that are not addressed that women have to face on their own. Hence, as Americans, because we are not affected by these things, we don't like tackle them, we don't protect them, we don't go out. So like they have to change like all of that on their own, and then they have to compete now at the same time. So now it's like, especially as girls, we don't know people. I'm not saying like some guys don't go through isn't. But then like just the
Guys are
expectation.
Men are suffering.
Yeah, but then like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to compare. But then I'm
Yeah,
like saying, with the cultural stuff, everything that's happening behind closed doors and all of that.
Yeah.
And so,
I think also the stats. Because I saw the article, and I was very mad to say that basically the stats were proved on the number of people that
Actually did the survey.
like they came and then survey and everything. Men are going through a lot out here.
yeah.
Men see flames. You know, sometimes I would sit and ask myself, like, how do we make it better for men to actually be able to feel bad? Men, you guys go through.
And you know what's fun and with like society in those cases, when they see like this like huge high rate of men actually filling taverns, pubs, all these toxic behaviors that they are displaying in terms of like abusing women, cheating. That's more like a reaction actually to all these things, like coping with like their mental problems in most cases. That's why like men actually drink a lot in most cases.
I wouldn't say that they go through a lot, but then some. Yeah, when I listen to routine that I got,
It messed up everything.
So lentally, like a person does not know how to release his stress or anger or whatnot. They try to keep it inside because they don't want to be seen as feminine when they become emotional. And so now they're using like the other ways which are not good to take out the stress without even knowing.
But I think when they said indoda aikali, they meant to say that you don't just cry and dwell in your issues. You need to make sure that you come up with a quick or like solution. Don't just cry and sit on it. Solution, but how we perceive it as the generation it's totally different to how it was explained back then, Yeah.
But then I think it's still the same way because my brother, I think like it's hard for you right now at the moment. I'm not sure, but then I think I'm just like it's just like something I'm thinking. But then I think maybe it's hard for you to actually pull through, like just sit down with your dad and be like, yo, pops, last night I was chilling with this girl,
I guess, like, the thing with, I don't know if you're coming with like a father-son type of relationship.
Yeah, because like those are like some of the issues, like not being able to talk to my dad in a way about some issue, like some things that I'm actually going through as a guy right now might actually contribute to me like having like those mental health issues, such things. So like that's what I'm actually like trying to find out, like in terms of their relationship in most cases.
Like I think the relationship is vital because naturally most boy child see their fathers as their heroes and father figures.
Yeah.
So now whatever Utama does, when I look up to him, I say, this is how I should act. So for me, like the relationship isn't just about ukuluma and I, but then I try to emulate or whatever lesson that he shows me or teaches me, I take it, and whatever way he acts, that's the way I'm gonna act.
But don't you think like that's also one of the reasons right now in the moment?
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
No, I don't see or I don't like feel the need for him. Let me talk to him about my problems or this or that. Because like I guess I have problems that I want to because he sees the need for him. I have to be strong for him. I just have to make sure there's a roof over my kids' heads, there's food on the table, and there's this, and then like the communication will not be as strong as it's supposed to be. Because now that's where the thing in that kind of comes in now. So when you try to have a conversation now, it has to be about things about life and about 1, 2, and 3. But then you won't go personal and you won't go deep and you won't go about your experiences in life. So yeah, I guess that's where the miscommunication or the misunderstanding comes in. So we do have relationships with Amatai, and we do try to have conversations, but then we don't speak about the things that we're supposed to speak about.
So like how do we actually like because like like the whole purpose of this show is to seek like practical solutions to like such problems. So how do we like move away from like from like just talking about like basic things as niggas with our like dads at home, like, and actually start engaging in serious topics? Because in most cases re gola like re tla ba ka fela gore ai khanga fitla go diamond no ka bua ka sex ke to thola stigma se what. That's in most cases, like you're in a society, that's what like society has normalized in most cases.
Can I quickly come in? I've been trying to teach my mom, or I don't know, like trying to make her understand this whole mental disorder. Because I would sit her down and tell her, this is depression. This is how, I'm not saying this is how it looks like, but this is what depression is. This is what anxiety is. You know? Also, it goes with the fact that, are your parents willing to learn and understand you from that point?
Cases our black parents.
Honestly speaking, I feel like our parents' generation, it goes on.
Yeah, because for
you know,
instance,
regardless who you are.
do you remember that trend in anything like book Facebook? Where they were like,
Yeah.
Alright, who's that too depressed?
Yes,
to
you
kiss
know,
your chicken.
and honestly speaking, that's how they receive us, our parents. All I can just say that the only solution that
Why do you think like black people are actually afraid of like going for therapy sessions?
I don't know, hey.
I guess like there's a whole lot of factors. We shouldn't overlook the fact that our parents went through a lot in terms of the health system.
Yeah.
Right? So with that, like the certain, like I've learned that certain mental issues, like mental illnesses, are also hereditary. Right? So they can pass on. So like for them, having to go through that, it was a matter of, I have to be strong. I have to make sure that I fight for my rights. I have to do this. This is what I have to survive every day to make sure we are in that I get a job, that I do this and so on. So for them, the issues that we're facing now are not the same exactly as what they were facing back then. And also priorities. What they used to prioritize back then is not the same as what we prioritize now. The lifestyles that we live,
it's not the same.
So like we must make sure that we don't overlook that. So now when I speak to older people or abazali or anyone in my family who's elderly, about like such issues, I make sure that I try to present it to them in a way that they'll understand, in a way that they will relate. You know? So if you talk about it in that way, then it's easier for them to actually engage because they feel the connection. So if they don't, like if you just say no, you don't care, 1, 2, 3, they will always be disconnected because they don't understand, they don't feel, they don't connect. So that's what I try to do. That's the one thing. Like whenever I have someone in my family who's suffering from it, I say no. Let's sit down. Let me talk to you. Let me make you understand.
As I was saying, guys, right now is the moment. Like when we look at like this whole concept of like mental health, like you can actually tell like there's actually like a separation between like physical health and mental health. So like, don't you think like this is like one of the problems that like actually that's making it like hard for us like to actually address this thing? Like, don't you think like this thing should actually be classified as one thing? Because at the end of the day, like once you actually start having like mental health issues, automatically it affects like your physical health too. So like, why do we have like to actually separate this whole two concepts? Like, what's the use?
How did the target deal with the target?
No, I think like for technicality, it's basically the same thing. But then for like medical or technical issues, you have to separate between because of how it's treated medically.
Yeah.
And so when you have a physical illness or a physical injury, it's always gonna be treated physically because we're gonna this is the problem and this can be with it. But then when it's mental, there's a whole lot of aspects to it. It might be because of brain damage. It's also as internal, but then it causes a whole lot of other issues, like a domino effect. But then when it's just depression or anxiety or anything like that, it has to be treated differently. You can't see it as You have to see, you can see it as a disease or an illness like that, but they're not the same as, it will not be treated the same as.
It's like treating
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah, but then, like, guys, this whole thing, and like, I think it's also like, because like these things are actually related. So like, what's the whole use of it, like separation, like this time? Don't you think like we should actually like just classify like this thing like as like one thing, like okay, mental health issues, like
Okay, I think
physical
I
health.
understand. Yeah, I think I understand the way
Yeah,
you
no,
know it is
like-
because I can have it mentally. So if something is disturbing you mentally, your whole body is going
Yeah,
to also.
you shut down
You
automatically.
You shut down, but as you
Yeah,
said,
like I said, for technicality in jail, like so just to be specific, no more. Just
But don't you think like
Yeah,
these
you need-
technicalities are actually like
the
the
cause.
things are like actually making like us as black men actually having this problem? Because like in most cases there's these things of like these technicalities of terms in most cases. I think in most cases.
Yeah.
Like they want straightforward things. How fit our mental health? Some of them are what's that?
Like I said, it's just about learning.
it
Yeah.
is.
It's just the same thing as an illness. It's literally the same thing. It's only just for technicality in jail. Just to specify, this is what the problem is. It's not it's different. It's not the same thing. Or it's just like you have to specify what the problem is in order to be able to fix the problem. So now I get that if I say that I'm not okay mentally, people will look at me differently.
AIDS. That's
I get that, but then just for technicality in jail, that's all it is. It's not it's not the same thing or or this. It's just no, this is what we call it because this is how we deal with it. Yeah, in jail.
And like so guys, okay, and in most cases like I'm going back to that point I made of like friendships in most cases. Like in most cases it's hard for a friend to actually like tell in most cases like okay, my friend is actually like okay going through this because they're not speaking out. But then in most cases like there are actually like signs and symptoms as to these things. So like I would actually like to like find out from you like some of these things, like how do you actually spot someone who's actually like battling with depression but then they're not speaking out? For someone out there maybe who's new to like this whole thing of depression, the concept as a whole, who's actually like looking to learn in most cases. So how do you identify someone battling with such issues?
well, I personally am a sponge, right? So if I'm around someone who's sad, I'm automatically gonna be sad. So that's how I identify people. So then, okay, this one is going to be about. Because once it happens to me, obviously I'll be like, guys, I was with you yesterday and somehow I'm sad what's going on. Obviously, because I create a safe space for people that are in my life and I suffer. You say, feel free to call me and text me or whatever. Once you like, but like you should tell me because I got it off from you. It's like, for me, I treat it like an STI. If I've been sleeping with you and then all of a sudden there's problems, obviously I'm going to come straight to you and be like, Chief, what happened?
But how relevant are it one? And like majority of us in the black community, like I won't like I've been like in a phase like where I won't say like it was like depression, but it was going there one tour. But then like speaking out, I will just sit in my room one tour like a kid and like okay, sleeping the whole day, just being lazy.
We need to kill this thing of societal stigma to say that speaking out is it's we can't say a thing of I can't say a thing of the past because it never happened. But to carry phobia to everyone else. Hence I say the circles that you are in. Is it a safe space? Hence I wanted to ask you anyway this question. Is it really that difficult for men to actually tell their girlfriend, their lover, their partners that depression is here, babe? I don't know what to do. Why do you guys find it so difficult to be vulnerable around women?
I don't know, like vulnerability takes away that masculinity in most cases. People say that, I guess. So when you're seen as soft or like it's like you say, when you're seen as not strong or not able to be what a man is supposed to be in society, then automatically you're gonna and then
I think
ego and all
also
of
the
that.
question is to say that what is to be a man to you, not to society.
My own being a man is like the way to think that thing. is that your characteristics, what a man does when he's down and what a man does when he's up. Oh, so that's what being a man is. It's not just strength.
Like, I get you, because now I'm asking, why is it, like, why?
Why is it a problem? Yeah,
is it because you guys are not emotionally intelligent enough? Or is it the people that you guys are together?
Somewhat in that aspect. Because emotional intelligence is not something that you can learn. Okay. Emotional intelligence is something you pick up on.
Okay.
In most cases. So, when, like about the toxic masculinity problem, we are not able to put ourselves in spaces where we can say, no, man, this is where my weaknesses are because of the male ego, or this is what my problem is, or this is where I lack, or whatever. So it's always going to be I'm not going to come out to my partner about my problems, because if they see me this way, then it's going to be a problem. Then it's going to be, they're going to use this weakness of mine against me.
Also, the problem is the reaction of the partner.
Not the reaction per se, but like how I'm going to feel about it. I don't know if you get me.
So probably you should know.
Yes, I'm not saying
because I'm trying to understand. Yeah. If you have depression, what's so wrong with you sitting me down and explaining that this is what's wrong?
Because come also hard debate that you are going to use it against
once
we start hearing fight. Like I said, it is what it is, like in most cases.
No, not it's just that like most men don't want to be seen as weak. Which is the problem there, man. Most men don't want to be seen as like honestly speaking, most men don't want to be seen as weak.
Like I think we as men, and right now I'm talking to like the real talkers out there, like we as men actually need to normalize like crying, like actually crying in front of like your girls bathing. I think that's like the first step, because like once you actually start doing that, you actually show like that vulnerable side, like you said. And like in most cases, it's something that's hard in our society at the moment. Because like if you actually go back to like my first YouTube episode, I was actually like covering the topic toxic masculinity, and like we actually spoke about this, like how wrong it is for like society to actually like judge men for not being like in daughter ikali guiding. So we're not like, what advice do you have for women at the and so in terms of like how they can actually encourage their hobbies, their BFs and guiding their partners in terms of like actually opening out?
Create a safe space.
How do you do that?
Create a safe. Let me tell you something. Communication can take us a long way if we know how to. There's, when we were told in school, listening is a skill. Listening, this is time where we actually need to. Because what's the whole point of us dating if you can't be running? So I should be the one who's crying, coming to you, crying, and looking for you, but you can't do the same thing.
That's how
So see, we need to create our own societal stigmas. Because that worked for our parents, it's not working for us. That's why we're killing ourselves so bad these days. What's the whole point of me saying I'm in a relationship with this person, but I'm anxious about the entire relationship as itself, but I can't tell you because there's no safe space. So creating safe space, having an event-free environment in a relationship, like people talk, communicate, saying hi, how you doing, can be considered as communication, but go deeper if you have to, like the depth of your emotions in a relationship. That's all I gotta say to the sister. If you're not in it, tell the brother, or I'm not in it, shift. If you're in it, then show effort.
Check my brother.
I don't know. For me, like it's supposed to be a journey of the two. So like we both have to learn about this thing. We both have to know what's actually like what we actually have to do about it after that. Not just speak about it, but then how we can help each other on this, how we can support each other like on this issue. We can talk about it all we want sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be like, we can take the safe space and whatever, but then it's not going to be as helpful. Because sometimes I need to be able to know if I speak to this person about this, then it's gonna be not a benefit, but then it's gonna help in a little way. Yeah. And learn to just learn about it.
Okay, let me just ask this question, and guys, how do you think like this whole issue of like GBV, gender-based violence, actually plays a role with like in like mental health issues, like someone like how do they actually like relate these two concepts in most cases?
So,
Like I shy away from GBV conversations, eh? Because there's a lot that's happening. I shy away from this conversation.
For me, I'm not speaking on the whole issue of the gender-based violence, but then this particular topic, I'd say we see the indoor stigma. The thing, because most men, I've read something that said most men who commit such crimes are actually victims of their past.
True.
So it would be a matter of someone who like went through something, and they were not given the space or the tools for release whatever anger or whatever it is. I'm not speaking on every man out there who's committed the crime, but then I'm speaking on specifically mental health issues.
Yeah.
So if they are not able to deal with that, they carry it all their lives, and then whenever it explodes, it's like very, very toxic to the community or the society or whoever it is it's affecting. Yeah, that's how I feel.
I honestly
I have a question. Okay.
GBV for me, guys. I think we grow up used to something like it's a norm. When you like and then you think it's okay, or if you see your mommy, you're dead, and now you're treated. It's a norm. So you don't to other people that's I don't want to protect you. I can see me. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, like I said, like Linda, I'm not saying for it. It's the main issue, but it's also part of
it's a contributing factor.
The reason I'm actually asking this is because of like in most cases, and one thing I've realized in terms of like the thing actually fueling like this thing, it's because of like mental health issues. Like I said, how we are coping with like our problems is like both parties of gender, because like GBV, it's something that's like both being gendered. So like, I would actually like to find out like from you, as you said that like it's something that actually like been there coming, like it's something that comes from the past and it's still here. So like as men or namachi, what do you think we can actually use to actually cope with such things? Like whenever I feel the need to actually like maybe unleash my anger and all and so, what do you think? Actually,
the main thing with the people like they have problems, they seek professional help.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I think.
It's expensive, bro.
Yeah, it's
no, it's not.
Like okay.
So, no, it's not. Why does it take you this
there's
time?
There's the private sector of things where you have to go the doctors and stuff like that. But then there's also helplines that are through the government and a lot of things,
things.
Yeah, I know things.
Don't have that concept of free speech.
Guys, but I'm sure only for waiting line, you are there thinking of killing yourself.
It's a matter of being informative about yourself.
Yeah.
Right now, there's probably 3 places I can refer you to now that actually have free counseling sessions, face to face. So, where you go?
I think because, like in most cases, like our public servants, but that was Pananga in most cases. How it relates in most cases.
Then that's a difference.
Because, like guys, I've been in a situation like that. Like Wabona, like 2018, after 2018 post I had like this appeal recommendation for psyche. My brother went there and to actually speak to someone, but when I go there, that person actually told me like, "What a nash up." That's what they said. So
there's a lot of them. They can't be giving you the same response. Don't give up.
Okay.
Try somebody else, obviously. Okay.
And what they usually do is like they actually bring in someone who's actually still learning, not someone who's actually qualified with public spaces. But with this, someone who's new to this thing, whenever you need help, someone with experience. Okay, so some social bandi practical.
Then find someone in your family.
So okay, I get that part definitely. Sometimes government, especially government, it's a bit problematic. That might be an understatement,
Yes, it is.
For me, like honestly speaking, if you are going through something, seek help. It has to be professional help. Because even if sometimes you might say, you're not gonna get the help that you need, but then you're gonna get somewhere. I promise you. Because the difference between this section and everything else is that our phone is a call center, call center. But then when you see professional help, it's an actual professional or someone who has knowledge on this thing and who knows how important it is for it. So our phone call center will say no, go offline. This. But then when you call a professional, they'll be able to say, no, okay, where are you? What are you doing? What do you have on you? On a lemma, that's a halal. Even if they won't solve the entire problem, but I promise you, they will get something. Like the thing is, like professional people in most cases, they are doing it. Also, not medical aid. Yeah, but then, like I said, like there are the setups, the organizations, the NGOs, there are governments, there are a lot who are actually willing to help.
Alright guys, okay, it seems like our time is like running out, so like before I actually like wrap off like the show, let me like give you like the platform to actually like clarify any issue that you might like be having with like this whole thing, like mental health, like in terms of because like after all we're actually trying to raise awareness about like such things. So I will actually like to give you the platform because so no, it's your turn, Mabo.
All I can say is that there is never like a quick fix for this. I don't want to say take your time, but that's the only thing that you could do, you know? Give yourself time to be aware for what's actually happening with you, you know? There's nothing wrong with going to therapists, psychologists. There's nothing wrong seeking professional help. At the end of the day, it's you. You need to prioritize yourself. And then hopefully you get better, you know? Because I myself am also going through the same journey. It's not easy, but I'm actually glad that, you know what, I took a first step and said that, okay, I realized that I have issues and I need to work on them. Because honestly, it's an issue, Chief. Yeah.
Nah, thanks. Like, yeah, it's been an honor, like, having you, like, on the show. Considering the fact that you were actually, like, my first improper guest for, like, my podcast, literally, when we started. So, like, I'm honored, like, still. So, Kat, my brother, let me move on to you. Like, just give you the time to make it, like, your conclusion points. Anything that you might actually like to clarify. The platform is yours.
Normally it's not directed to the people or somebody, but then just the friends and families of this people. Just be patient, able to count on anything. For someone fell up here, and don't force them to go to therapy or whatever if they are not getting themselves. Because even if they're going for help, be mindful of your words sometimes. I know sometimes you might mean well with a joke, like the Facebook thing. But then, just in the mindful, don't say that they're too sensitive. Don't say that, no, what about sharp or whatever. Just be mindful of your words and of your actions towards these people.
Alright guys, like that's all like for this episode. Like a lot was said, like as you've heard, like Luena as an individual out there, if you like going through like something, about depression, anxiety, just know that we are there before you actually consider like giving up to like suicide, considering such thoughts. We are there, we'll listen. There are organizations, so just hit me up like on my any of my platforms and let me listen to like the programs without judging or anything. Other than that, it's your boy signing out. And yo, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Yo, we out. Thank you.